Double O Stephen, I understand that you have strong feelings about this, but for the last time, no matter how much we may disagree, hot dogs are an acceptable food item. Your license to grill has been revoked. Please relinquish your tongs at once. That's right. It is 24 FPS Presents, and we are here for the good, the bad, the Bond. I am Travis, a.k.a. TV's Travis, and over there, that's Steven. Steven, how are you?
It is me, Travis. I am doing great. I have been given a license to thrill on this podcast, and I'm looking forward to it.
Perfect. Yes, we are on the back half of the Timothy Dalton era. We are doing the best rated Timothy Dalton James Bond film of the two that he did, License to Kill from 1989. So 1989, directed by John Glenn. This was the last James Bond film that John Glenn directed. He did 5 of them. He started with, was it For Your Eyes Only, I think, in 1981, and did that one, Octopussy, A View to a Kill, The Living Daylights, and License to Kill. And he says this is the best one that he made.
Well, we'll find out if we agree with him as we go through the story. But
that
sure.
Is true.
Good for him.
It is the second and final time Timothy Dalton played the character of James Bond. Brief synopsis. A vengeful James Bond goes rogue to infiltrate and take down the organization of a drug lord who has murdered his friend's new wife and left him near death. That's about right.
That nails it. I can't think of a better way I would do it.
No, it gives you everything you need to know about this movie. It's a little bit different of a James Bond movie. We're going to kind of get into why that is and maybe why they did that. But we got a few reviews of this movie we want to touch on.
We do, and this time I was able to find a review from like the one of the Mount Rushmore of reviewers, Mr. Leonard Maltin, reviewed this one, and I remember him from Entertainment Tonight back in the day. That was one of my shows. He said, "License to Kill is just the shot in the arm the James Bond series has been needing." So clearly, he enjoyed it a whole lot. I did try to get a couple good ones and then a couple iffy ones. This one says, License to Kill is a different beast entirely. Violent, barbaric, and untamed. This was everything that James Bond decidedly was not. It was here that Dalton's ideal of Fleming's agent crystallized. I really like the way they put that together. This one was considered a rotten review, but I don't even think it's that mean. It just says, lacks a bit of that Bond magic. Perhaps not the crude or formulaic elements of other Bond films, but the lightness of touch and inherent charm in the character of Bond himself. Yeah, sure. I like this one. This one is more modern. It took place, this person wrote this review in 2015, but based on how this movie was, the way that it was, I kind of liked it. Some of 007's earlier adventures fail to hold up, but in a post-Taken world, License to Kill certainly aged well and is underappreciated gem in the Bond catalog. And I liked that they brought up a movie from now, because this movie not just tiptoed out of its like 60s, 70s predecessors, it rocketed out of into fully into 80s movie land. Like, it wasn't holding on to nothing it used to do. Bigger, badder, bolder, Bonder, you might say.
Absolutely. So this was 1989. This is on the heels of things like Lethal Weapon and Die Hard were in the zeitgeist at this point. And so they needed to kind of do a little something. They needed to catch up with the times. And some people maybe didn't love that, didn't like the change. I think Desmond Llewellyn at one point said, I liked License to Kill, but it also was missing a little of the fantasy. Sure. And I get that, but it is a harder edged version. Now, as we mentioned, this is the highest rated Timothy Dalton of the two that he did. Sadly, he only did 2, but pound for pound, movie for movie, he's got 2 that are highly rated, 72% overall. So almost 3/4 positive reviews for The Living Daylights, and then this one is just shy of 80%. So almost 8 out of 10 reviews were good for this film. It's the number 11 ranked in terms of kind of the Rotten Tomato score overall, and I think that that kind of it plays out in the movie for me quite a bit.
Yeah, I take issue with Desmond Llewellyn. I love him, but I think if he's upset about the lacking fantasy elements, we have a villain with an iguana on his shoulder with a diamond collar who feeds his enemies to sharks.
I think more, yes, but I think more of what he's referring to is just the harder edge, the darkness in James in general. Because you got to remember, I mean, Llewellyn had been around for the entire run.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I think he came in From Russia with Love and had been in every movie since then. So, but he also did like this movie and did say that it was the one movie where he actually made real money.
Well, he actually did real work in this movie,
right?
Which we'll get to.
One of the things this movie does is the stunt work. The stunt work is superb throughout. We talked about it with The Living Daylights and how good some of that stuff was, and just how well they did it, especially the plane stuff at the end where they were literally hanging off the back of a plane.
Yeah.
All of that. And they take that and they run with it. Like the cold open jumps right into an amazing stunt. And once again, and this is, I think, really important, is we're seeing our main actor in shots. He might be on a rig and it might just be, he's 4 or 5 feet off the ground and they're shooting up at him and, movie magic. But you can buy that it's really Dalton doing at least some of the work. Sure, a wide shot, you're like, there's no way they'd let Timothy Dalton do that. And I get that. But somebody was literally hanging from a helicopter, landing onto a plane below them. Which I did like the stunt guy talking about that, because he's like, yeah, basically exactly what you see. I was harnessed in, they would lower me down, I would drop onto the plane, but immediately come off of it because his body weight would cause the plane basically to stall out almost immediately if he stayed on there too long. So he had to just kind of get the shot to the point where he made contact and then come right back off. But there's literally a guy hanging off of a helicopter doing that, which is madness.
The stunt work was so good. Like everything they started with The Living Daylights is just taken up a notch, or at least we're given more of that than we had in Living Daylights. So there's just tons of stunts that were so fun to watch. This is the first Bond movie that we have watched that I felt like it belonged in today's world, or today's world as I see it, like movies I grew up with that I watched a lot. It lands right in there with every other classic 80s action movie I've ever seen. And to a lot of people, that might be a problem because it is James Bond, and James Bond action is part of it, but not what it is. But this movie really turned that up to 11.
But I feel like, and I know we're going to talk about this more as we get further along with Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig, because they're even more modern versions of it. But I really think that the James Bond franchise of films is a microcosm of action films in their era. Sean Connery's films in the 60s are 60s action films. Yeah, and then Moore was doing 70s style action films, which 70s movies were either these like really gritty, dark, dirty, French Connection type movies, or they were glitzy and like polished. And that was James Bond. James Bond was very polished in the 70s. Roger Moore was that's who Roger Moore was. So his Bond was a little bit different. And this is very much that 80s action movie, because you got to think between before The Living Daylights, but we're already getting into your Rambos and Commandos and
Paul Verhoeven,
like that. Yeah, Paul Verhoeven stuff. And then, Lethal Weapon comes along, Die Hard comes along, and those two movies really changed action cinema. And so James Bond has to keep up. And I think that they do a great job of it here. I love this cold open. It's so because good. It's got the right mix of great action and also silliness and campiness, where Bond is going to Felix's wedding. They're dressed in tuxedos and Felix, gets waylaid by the DEA to go find this drug lord, and James is going to go with him. He's like, fine, but you're only going as an observer. And it's like, yeah, he's not going as an observer. We all know this.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved everything about Felix being in this opener and having some real action stuff to do, and him partnered up with James Bond. It was everything you really need in a cold open. And then the cheesiness of parachuting down to the wedding. Like,
yes,
we're not late.
Yes.
Everybody being all excited that they showed up. It was just so cool, man.
I also loved that Della, his Felix's wife, was played by Priscilla Barnes.
Priscilla Barnes, yeah.
Priscilla Barnes, who, when I was rewatching it this time, I hadn't watched this movie in a while, and I'm rewatching. I'm like, why does she look so familiar? I know her from something, but what is it? I couldn't pinpoint what it was. She took over for Suzanne Summers in Three's Company.
Ah.
When Suzanne Summers left, Priscilla Barnes was on there, so I saw a lot of that because I watched tons of Three's Company reruns growing up.
See, those were the days podcast for more information.
That's right. But I also like the story. This is another good one before we talk about the opening credit sequence, is in the end of that cold open, they're parachuting in. And of course, obviously, it's not the actors parachuting the full thing. Although, again, we get full on, like, jump out of a plane, parachute down. But the bit at the end where they were, on like a crane rig or something and they drop into frame. They kept, John Glenn, the director, said that he'd done a take of it and he thought it was good, but he wanted to go just a little bit like faster and make it look just a little bit better. So he told the crane operator that, and then they did it. But the way that they did it, Felix, David Hedison, hit the ground a little too hard, and he was limping for the rest of the production because of that. And John Glenn's like, I felt terrible about it, because if I hadn't asked him to do that, he wouldn't have gotten himself injured at all. And there was like no bad blood or anything like that, but it was one of those funny stories behind the scenes. I just cracked
based on the remainder of Felix's story, maybe the limp wasn't such a bad thing.
It's true. It's very true. As far as the opening credits go, so this is the last time that the I had this because this was the last film for a bunch of James Bond regulars in terms of like production. I guess you'd be right. Robert Brown's probably last run. Robert Brown passed away in like 2003, but he retired after this. This was the last time that, and only the second time that Caroline Bliss was Moneypenny. Yeah. But also, like, behind the scenes was Albert Broccoli. This was the last movie he produced. He was a consulting producer for GoldenEye, but this was his health was failing. He actually went down to Mexico while they were filming, and then the thin air was causing him problems, so he had to go back home. Oh, geez. So there was that. And then it was also the last one for Richard Maybaum, one of the writers. He passed away a couple years after this came out, and he only co-wrote this because there was a writer's strike going on, and he was such a big part of the Writers Guild, he couldn't bring himself to like ghostwrite, so he had to pass off to the other writer. John Glenn, we talked about that. This was the last one. Maurice Binder did the title design. This was the last one of them that he did. For the opening titles. Robert Brown, Carolyn Bliss, and Timothy Dalton. But the opening titles for this, I loved the camera like zooming in and out of the lens to enter and exit our title sequence. I thought that was cool. Outside of that, it's kind of your basic James Bond title sequence of the 80s. Yeah. More blatant nudity in this title sequence as well. Yes, there is just lights on these people. But fortunately for parents everywhere who are clutching their pearls, PG-13 was invented. So at this point, we have a proper rating for a James Bond movie that I think is a much better rating for this series, probably overall. If you're looking for your guidance on whether your kids can enjoy a James Bond movie, let them just skip the intro. Just skip the intro. This was the first PG-13 Bond. Right, yeah. Before that, you wouldn't have had it. And they actually, I think I read that the original it got originally an R rating, and they had to cut a little bit to get it down to a PG-13. And after this one, they were all PG-13. But this was, and we've noticed this was definitely the most violent of the Bond films that we've seen yet.
There's a lot of blood in this movie.
Yeah, I'm not used to, I forget this one, like gunshots have squibs, and I'm not used to that with a lot of James Bond movies. It's usually just, guns fired and somebody reacts and falls over, but you don't have like the squib going off and all that kind of stuff.
Travis, for those of us, our listeners who are unfamiliar with a squib, what is a squib?
So a squib is effectively a small amount of gunpowder that is packed into, it's a small charge that is placed under the clothing, or they might, if it's exposed skin, they might just put it under a little patch of like fake skin, triggered to create the illusion of a gunshot on a person. So they will pack a little bit of gunpowder and stage blood in, and then they will electrically ignite that. That's how you used to do it. Nowadays, a lot of it is done digitally.
Sure.
But I'm a big fan of old school squibs, and I've made them before, and they're you can certainly overdo it with too much gunpowder. And all that, but they're a lot of fun to do. So
very cool.
But on the whole, like the opening sequence, the title sequence is fine. I don't have any problems with it. It's not
this song memorable. Though. The song, Travis.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the song?
I did not know who was doing it. Gladys Knight is fine. The majority of the song is fine, but man, there's some chords just I'm just like, oh my word, I'm watching James Bond. Like, it really blew my mind. I was sitting there like, dang, get it, trumpet, let's go. What are we doing? And then it played like your standard 80s Gladys Knight track, and I'm like, well, maybe that womp womp will come back soon. And then sure enough, at the end, and I'm like, oh yeah, let's go.
So I think I read that they based a little bit of that off of Goldfinger.
I could hear that.
And personally, for me, the song is fine, but it's not overly memorable. I think Gladys Knight has a great voice.
Sure.
But this felt to me, after the last few Bond movies, this felt to me like a cosplay of a Bond theme. Like, hey, remember what we used to do? Let's try that again. And it almost doesn't fit with the rest of the movie to me, because so much of the movie is like is this darker, grittier version of Bond, but we're going to harken back to an older style of song. It's not bad. I don't have a problem with it, but it doesn't resonate with me like a bunch of other ones do. So
I prefer it to some of the other ones we've had, particularly the 80s Bonds. I didn't love Aha's song. I think I would rate this above that one.
I would too. No, I would rate it above The Living Daylights. But I think A View to a Kill is a little bit better of a song, and it kind of fit the feel of that movie more. I think that's the thing for me.
Okay.
Is it's not that it is a bad song. It doesn't feel like the song for License to Kill. Like, I just want something. It's a little too glossy and a little too nice for License to Kill. I want just a little dirtier, a little grittier of a song. But that's just me.
Sure. Yeah. Your mileage may vary.
Yep. But we can't talk about a James Bond film without talking about James Bond.
Start ringing our phones.
Timothy Dalton. Dalton. So we were a little bit divided last time on what we thought of him. I liked him a little bit more than you did, but how did this change your thoughts at all? Or do you still kind of feel the same way about Dalton?
I loved Timothy Dalton in this movie. I loved him. And back last episode, we were talking about Living Daylights, it felt like a Bond written for someone else. And this felt like a Bond written for him. It felt like he could be tougher than Roger Moore was. And it felt like maybe in the last movie, Roger Moore could have played that part, minus the action scenes, obviously. But this movie felt like this was built for him. It found his strengths. It said, you know what? Maybe this is a tough guy. And maybe this tough guy is going to go rogue and start punching people and shooting people and blowing junk up. I loved everything about that. I appreciated he had a good rapport with the female co-stars. At least, like, you know, their characters had some chemistry. There was stuff going on. They did that in the last movie, but this movie I felt like it was okay. Now we're going to start respecting and believing and understanding each other before we just hop in bed to some degree. With Pam, that boat happened pretty fast, but like you had good stuff happening with him. He felt like he was motivated. He was passionate about what was going on. I understood the story. It was, I thought he just did fantastic. After watching this, I wanted more Timothy Dalton Bond movies.
And that was how I felt with the last one. It's how I feel here. Like he understood who the character of Bond was for this story, and they tailored the story, I think, to his strengths. He wanted to go back to a more Ian Fleming novel version of James Bond, make him a little harder edged, make him a little tougher. And Dalton does that so well. There's so many scenes where, you know, he confronts Lupe in the boat, and he's like, "You move and I will kill you," and you believe it. Like he would do it. And the whole thing when he drops the suitcase of money on the guy and tells him, like, "You $2 million, you've earned it," and chucks it at him. Oh, that's cold. That's just cold. I loved it. It was so good. And he has the charm too. Like we saw, because I think in The Living Daylights, he plays the charm a little bit more, but I sort of, while it still has the tropes, we're going to talk about it with the Bond girls, the tropes of like them falling in love with him too quickly, than for what is realistic. Like at the same time, I get the charm. He's just got that thing that you need as James Bond. I also love the story of like him going rogue, because we've seen that a little bit before, like a couple of times where he's like, "Oh, I'll just resign then." But it's never this time around. It felt like, no, this Bond would just be like, I'm done dealing with the bureaucracy. I'm going on my own. And Dalton just pulls that off.
Yeah, because it was a really good premise to take him there. Like, I appreciated on Her Majesty's Secret Service because he was willing to go rogue because his mission was taken away. He was out to get Spectre and stop Blofeld, and he was told no. In this, his friend was fed to a shark, and his friend's wife was killed, and he was going to have none of that. And you want to go with him because you're like, heck yeah, if I had his skills and that happened, vengeance is mine. You know, I'm coming.
And not only that, but if you think about it, this movie mentions him being married before, which I thought was I loved that scene because Felix would know. What's her name? Della wouldn't. So she doesn't get that, but the way Dalton plays that moment feels real. Like it's bittersweet for him. He's so happy for the two of them. He loves the gesture that Della is trying to make, but it hurts. Yeah. And then compound that with now his friend has lost his wife on his wedding night to a big bad guy that they just captured. Exactly what happened to James.
Same thing.
So yeah, I loved all of it. And then just for him to go on the revenge and also him going rogue. I did read, I don't know if this is true or not, but I did read that part of that is kind of very slyly MI6 doesn't have jurisdiction. So they can't. Oh, yeah. Because one of the things I think I read, I can't remember if it was Everything Wrong with License to Kill or something, where they make the joke of like, well, why can't MI6 just send James on the mission and let him go after that? But if that is the case, if he can't, if M cannot send him, then this is the way for him to be able to do that. Because if you notice, like M revokes his license and all of that, but then the next time we see M, he's back at Universal Exports, and he's just like, well, 007 is going to go after Sanchez. We just have to hope it all works out and he comes back. Like, he kind of knows. M's like, right. It's Tuesday. This happens. We'll just deal with it when it, later.
Bond is M's dog on a chain, you know, like he he's doing his best to rein him in, but at some point that dog's gonna get loose, and you just gotta hope it comes home and hasn't murdered the wrong person.
Right. Oh no, absolutely.
That's what it is. I love that M knows that, because we get M scolding Bond all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But M wouldn't keep Bond if he didn't know he could do the job. You know, right. I like their antagonistic relationship that they have in all these movies, but just seeing this movie too, and M, like you said, just being like, hope he does everything he's supposed to do, because I'm not going to be able to stop him.
And just a nice little sort of Easter egg moment when M is confronting him. First, it's at the Hemingway house. Mm-hmm. And then Bond says, "A farewell to arms."
That's good.
Bit on the nose, but I like it. It works.
I like it.
It's one of those where, yes, they prominently show the Hemingway house, but if you're not fully paying attention, that could just sail over your head, or if you don't know Hemingway. But I also liked that whole scene played out where, as he's walking in, you don't see who's there and you just see a cat. It's like, oh, yeah. Oh, this could it be Blofeld? No, it's not. It's not Blofeld. No, it's M. But it was a nice reveal. And I just everything with Timothy Dalton in this is great. And the fact that, again, he's doing a lot of stunt work. You know, he might not be doing the wide shot stunt hanging off of a plane or water skiing barefoot, but they're setting up a rig for him to do insert shots that aren't on a rear projection.
Right. Yeah. There was some rear projection stuff in this, but not nearly as much as was used in previous movies. They have definitely gone to a more practical, let's just get out there and do it. We can shoot it. We can make it happen. And I like that a lot.
Yeah, at least some of that is Dalton being like, no, if you should believe that I am doing these stunts. Even if I'm not doing the stunt itself, you should believe that I could be capable of doing it. And so I should do at least part of it. And I very much appreciate that.
Yeah.
Something you better understand, amigo. Loyalty is more important to me than money.
Franz Sanchez, played by Robert Davi, our villain. Whoo, boy. All right, Steven, what are your thoughts on old Sanchez here?
I love Robert Davi. All by himself. Let's say the actor Robert Davi is great. Him playing Sanchez he's mean. He's upsetting. He does things. He treats people terribly. He's holding all the cards. He knows what he's doing. He's not fooled. I mean, he's fooled for a little while by Bond, but I mean, I just love him. I love he's got an iguana. Like he carries around like a dang parrot. He's a wonderful Bond villain, and he's played so straight by Robert Davi. I mean, the man feeds people to sharks, and this isn't the first time we've ever seen that. James Bond's got a lot of villains that just love feeding sharks.
Yeah.
But I like how much he had to do. I love how close he was with Bond for a good deal of this movie. Like they were working together effectively because he just didn't know who he had. And it was fun to watch them do that. I liked him being the boss at the casino. Like, I appreciated the guy, the one with the underwater lab. I can't remember his name.
No, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. He was cool because he had an underwater lair and was cold. This dude was around people and cold and mean and horrible. I don't know. He was just captivating. It's hard for me to really put my finger on why I love watching Robert Davi. The Goonies. If you didn't watch this movie, and you should if you're listening to the podcast, but you might remember him as one of the brothers in the Goonies, Joey Pance's brother. Yes, did a phenomenal job with that role too. I don't know. The guy's just fun to watch.
He is. He has a gravitas and a feel that he brings to things. He does a little bit of method acting. And so one of the things I did watching some behind the scenes stuff on this was they talked about, like, while they were shooting, he would go out while they were in Mexico City. He would go to bars and just act the part and like get a table because the people working there were just like, oh, this guy's someone important, because he would just be that character. This was according to Bond girl Carrie.
Wow.
Carrie Lowell was talking about that, but she said he was lovely. He got cast and he read Casino Royale. And one of the things Ian Fleming talked about with Casino Royale was the Bond villains, especially Le Chiffre, being a mirror image of James Bond. And so he modeled his version of Sanchez after that idea of making him a dark James Bond. And I think he pulls that off. And when Talisa Soto did her screen test, Timothy Dalton wasn't available, so he did the Bond part for it. And John Glenn was like, he was a really good James Bond. Like he could have been James Bond. I dug that. I thought that was a lot of fun. But awesome. He's just so cool. He's so cool. We mentioned this in A View to a Kill, how they wanted to give you the impression of how crazy Christopher Walken's character was, and they had the whole forced thing of him just like shooting all his enemies, all his cohorts. This first scene, they're going to tell you exactly who this guy is. He walks in, finds his girlfriend with another guy, and tells his henchman to cut the dude's heart out, and then proceeds to whip her. Like, this is not a good guy at all.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated just doing that. That's great work to set up who this character is immediately and get us on the same page.
Yeah.
And Robert Davi just owns it. He just has that look. He's got that look and that ability. He's smooth in his delivery. He worked on I don't know how great his Colombian accent was, but he really worked on that because the character was modeled a little bit after, I think it was Pablo Escobar, who was very topical at the time. And they were really going for that kind of a thing. Part of this movie was filmed in the US and Mexico. Nothing was filmed in the UK.
Oh, wow.
No filming was done because there was a change. It was some sort of tax write-off change that made it so that they didn't get I don't remember exactly what it was, but basically they couldn't afford to shoot there. And so this was the first Bond movie to have nothing shot in England.
That's incredible. The whole movie is based in, non-existent places as well as Cuba and Florida and stuff. So, it makes sense. And the whole story kicks off with Felix at a wedding, and he's not going to do a wedding in the UK. So they didn't do a lot of doubling for the UK. It was just, we are not there. Bond is rogue, and the thing he's after is in these other places. So that makes a lot of sense to me.
The original idea for this movie was going to have it set in China. And they had written out a script for that, and they actually had a chase on the Great Wall and all sorts of stuff. But a couple years before this movie came out, the Last Emperor had come out and sort of removed a bit of the mystique of shooting a movie in China. And so they pivoted and decided to go in a different direction. I think it works for it.
Sure. Yeah.
Also, Franz Sanchez is a bit of Frank Sinatra sounding, and Sinatra was a big Bond fan. So maybe there was a little something there. I don't know.
It might have been a little handshake somewhere along the way. As
Bond villains go, I think I put him up there pretty high.
I don't disagree with you.
He's just got that look, having the iguana. He goes out in a rough way, like he gets burned alive. There is no questioning what happened to that guy. And he's just brutal. Like he's brutal, but he's also brought down by his own hubris because Bond infiltrates his organization and turns him against his own people, which is I want to say he did the same thing in The Man with the Golden Gun. He did a lot of that with Scaramanga. And plot points from this were pulled from Live and Let Die as well.
Okay.
But I liked that. Because he is smart, but he's not above being manipulated, and his ego allows him to be manipulated by Bond.
Yeah. And it's cool. I think Bond villains are the best and the most memorable when they have screen time and they have moments with Bond. Like, we love Goldfinger because Goldfinger's in that movie. He shares so many scenes with James Bond. You get to know him and you get to understand what he's about and what Bond is about in that scenario. And the same thing happens with some of these others. And there's villains that I love because of what they do when they're on screen. They're really cool. Like the aforementioned underwater sub guy, but he's missing for a really long time, but he's memorable for those little moments he has. But this guy, there's some real meat on the bone. You get to learn a lot about him. You get to see a lot for him. And you know how close Bond is to taking him down at any moment, I I think that's what makes this work. And as we move into our next, 90s, 2000s Bonds, I'm kind of just as interested to see how the villains that we watch kind of compare and where they land in this archetype. But yeah, this guy is definitely in my top of Bond villains. Like there's some I just I don't even remember. If it weren't for like the actor, I don't know that I'd really care or remember the View to a Kill.
No, if it wasn't Walken, because he's just sort of there. But Sanchez is memorable for the performance, and he's memorable for who the character is and what he does. Because it's a very simple thing. He's a Colombian drug lord. That's it.
Right.
That's what he does. But you give him the quirk of like, yes, he's got all of the money, but he doesn't care so much about it because he has it. Because like money isn't a thing to him. He just has a bunch of it. It's more about loyalty and who someone is for him. Yeah. So to take that and turn it against him is a perfect way to do it. Yeah. And just brought to life perfectly by Davi, who owned it. Like he just went for it, and he was a great casting. And this is coming off of he had been in Die Hard just before that.
Right.
In a small role, and you mentioned the Goonies. I love him in the Goonies. Love him in the Goonies. So in the Goonies, he's much goofier and more fun. So it's nice to see that range too. Yeah.
He's goofy in the Goonies, but he is also the more sinister of the two brothers.
Oh, for sure.
And the more scary of the two brothers. Like if I'm a lost kid in the woods and he's singing opera at me, I'm terrified.
Oh, for sure. and that is the thing too that works for this role, is that he can play scary.
Yeah.
Like there are moments in this where you're like, ooh, like he gives you the shivers. And it's all in his presence.
Yes.
And that voice and all of it. So loved it.
I'm Miss Kennedy. Oh. Mr. Bond's executive secretary.
Our Bond girls. We'll start with Carrie Lowell as Pam Bouvier.
Yep.
I love the story. She went to her audition. They didn't have a script finished yet by her audition, so she read lines from A View to a Kill. But they told her like, oh, this is kind of she's a tough chick, and so she showed up in jeans and a leather jacket.
Nice.
And they were like, maybe come back in different clothes. And so she did, but they also kind of worked that into the story. I like Pam as a Bond girl because she has agency. She's not just a prop or arm candy.
Right.
Like she's a former military pilot, CIA agent, and she has skills, and she doesn't take guff. She doesn't take any nonsense from James, which is what especially this James Bond needs.
Yes. Yeah, he needs somebody who can play the game with him. And she does a really great job. I enjoyed her a lot. I love that she wouldn't leave. He kept trying to get rid of her, and she's like, no, I'm sticking around. We're going to see this thing done. There are a few things about her character that was like, okay, the plot demanded that or demanded this. And some of it was the jealousy angle. Like it felt like that didn't really fit her character very much. I felt like she'd be tougher than that.
Right.
There was, she fell for him on the boat like immediately. And I'm like, all right, I get it. You just almost died. Adrenaline's running high, but still, like there's some of those moments where you're just like, Bond requires this, so we're going to write it in. But everything else about her character was like, I don't need it. I'm cool. I'm better than that. I'm on my own. I'm tough. I don't need James Bond kind of attitude. So there was a little bit of the writers having to make this work as a Bond girl, but also trying to write someone who could potentially run their own movie if this was a different decade.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, because our introduction to her technically is in Felix's office, but she's just there to like look at James and then leave. But when we get introduced to her in the bar, in the Barrelhead, James shows up, and I love are you packing? And he pulls out his PPK, and she just scoffs at it because she's got the big shotgun.
Right.
Like, that's great. And, she holds her own in that whole sequence, and she's wearing the bulletproof vest. I loved all of that. You're right. The things that detract from her character they don't feel in line with the character. And that's where it kind of falls down. And to an extent, it's the same thing with Lupe, played by Talisa Soto, is because she, in her own way, is no nonsense, right? She doesn't put up with what's his name? Crest. Like, she just doesn't suffer him for anything. She's afraid of Sanchez for sure, but she has every right to be afraid of Sanchez. But I also like little things like when Bond tells her, you can go home. And she's like, I spent years getting away from home.
Yeah.
That's a great, just little piece of dialogue that tells you a lot about her character and who she is. So I liked that. I do agree. The jealousy thing and sort of the falling in love with James right away from both of them just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
But that's just work. James Bond movies. Right.
That I thought Lupe was kind of cool in that she was in this terrible relationship with Sanchez, but she was also just like, I'm gonna do what I want. Like, there's one scene where she's just leaving on a boat.
Yep.
And she's like, I'll be back. Tell him I'm missing. And I actually love that. So he's got a ton of henchmen, no-name henchmen, that are just there for a few scenes here and there. This guy, when Lupe's leaving the fortress in the boat, and he's like, wait, where are you going? He's trying to stop her. She's like, tell him I'll be back in a little bit. I'm going shopping. The look on his face that just says, he's going to kill me. I am dead because I let her leave. Yes. And knowing that Lupe just did that, knowing that guy probably is dead, was a little bit disturbing to me. Because if I was that dude, I'd be like, I'm getting off this island somehow right now. Because if she's gone, I'm gone. This is bad. That was, I don't know, the actor deserves some kind of credit for that because it was really well done.
That is the James Bond camp that I love. Like the scene preceding that is Lupe telling him there's so many guards, you're never going to get past any of them. Smash cut to her dropping her purse to distract the one guard. She came down the like gondola or whatever that thing was. But James was already down and snuck behind the one guard. What about all the other guards in that house? Like, how did he get past them? We don't care. None of that.
We don't care
because it's James Bond. So
yeah, he could do it.
Loved it. Loved all of that.
He's drowning on the side of the boat while she's going 30 miles an hour through the water, but it's fine. It's fine.
It's all good. It's James Bond. He can breathe.
He's got some grip strength. That's all I know.
He does. But no, I liked both Talisa Soto and Carrie Lowell. I thought they were Bond girls. This is, I think, the transition from, because A View to a Kill, I remember it just having too many quote unquote Bond girls, and none of them really had anything to do. And we had one main one, and she wasn't great. The Living Daylights was fine, and she was integral to the plot, and I liked her a lot, but these two just feel stronger as characters. They feel more fleshed out as characters and not so much props.
Yeah, they're much better written.
You put it perfectly. Pam could lead her own movie. We could see a movie just about Pam Bouvier.
Yeah, easy. I'd watch it. She was great. I mean, I enjoyed everything about her on screen. She was wonderful.
There was also a great moment when they come back from the casino and the front desk says, hey, your uncle is upstairs. And so we get them busting in, and then it turns out to be Q. I liked this moment, and I want to play this.
Pam, this is Q, my uncle. Uncle, this is Miss Kennedy, my cousin.
Ah, we must be related.
I like that because it's silly, it's funny, but also for the SIS, talking about the CIA, that's their cousins.
Oh, interesting.
So that's a nice little bit to throw in there. That is his way of telling Q she's in the CIA without having to say it out loud.
I like that.
This is my cousin. Q knows exactly what that means. I like that quite a bit.
That's really cool. I didn't know that. I love I loved everything with her and Q and him and Q. Just the whole thing was great.
Also, she's one of the only Bond girls, I think, to ever drink the vodka martini, because she goes to order him one, and then he leaves with Lupe to go find Sanchez, and she downs it in one gulp and doesn't like it at all.
Yeah, she's like,
cracked me up.
Oh, so good.
Where's my wife?
Don't worry. We gave her a nice honeymoon.
Our henchman. All right. So just baby Benicio del Toro.
Oh, just Dario. A kid.
He was just 21, I think. The youngest actor to play a Bond henchman.
Really?
At 21 years old?
He was so good.
Oh, he was great.
So he wasn't like, he didn't have a lot to say, but that honeymoon thing is such a Benicio del Toro thing.
It really is. He
was who he was right out of the gate.
I wanted more of his character in the movie. And they don't explicitly say it, but he is Sanchez's little brother.
Oh, okay.
I'm almost positive. Like, they don't say it, but I think at one point he calls him Hermano.
Okay, yeah, which could be a term of endearment and not a literal brother. It could be a term of
endearment, but I've always read it as like it's his little brother, and he's just the little brother that's just a little bit more unhinged somehow.
Yeah, right.
And he's got the gold tooth, which is just a nice visual, and couple that with sort of, you know, Benicio's just smile and his crazy eyes, and you could tell he was having fun, and he's just at the edge of overdoing it all, and it's perfect. And oh boy, does he have one of the more brutal henchman deaths in a James Bond film, period. I will be honest, I forgot how rough that one was, because he gets ground up literally in the cocaine grinder. Yikes.
What a way to go.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
But he's just great. I loved every second he's on screen.
He's so fun to watch. Like, I'm reminded of The Usual Suspects, which I watched for your other show, when you haven't seen. Like, he just has a way of carrying himself with this cool confidence in everything he does, and the way he says stuff is me looking at it. Okay, these were words on a page. Where did he get that inflection or that drawl or whatever it could be? What is happening?
It's so cool because Robert Davi commands your attention, right? He is a lightning rod, and you cannot help but pay attention to him, and he will make sure that you are. And Del Toro gets your attention, but he doesn't demand it. You just can't help but look at him and listen to him, and he's got a little bit of that. There's a little like soft spokenness to him. He's not demonstrative, so you almost have to lean in a little bit, but at the same time you're like, I need to lean in to hear what this guy is saying, but I don't want to get too close or he's going to stab me.
Right.
And it's just this perfect balance. I love him so much, and he's one of those Bond actors that went on to win an Oscar. And can you imagine seeing this in 1989 and seeing this kid in this movie, and then like 6 years later he's Fenster in The Usual Suspects,
right?
You know, that's just crazy to me.
And I mean, you could probably say that about a lot of actors that we've seen over the last 20 or 25 years, that we watched and noticed them in the background or as some minor character, and then turned around and, oh dang, they really got up there. You know, they made some stuff happen, and the lucky ones get to stay at the top, you know. And there's, you know, they're also lucky because they were ever at the top. But then, you know, you have the ones that you saw went big and then just fell off the radar.
Yeah, this was his first film. Well, technically, no. He had been in Big Top Pee-wee the year before, but it was a smaller role. He played Duke the Dog-Faced Boy in Big Top Pee-wee. But all he had done prior to this was some TV series and a music video.
Wow.
So this was kind of his first thing, and boy, it's just great. I love it.
You wonder what the back channel like communication is for him. Like who worked on Big Top Pee-wee? that knew
Right?
John Glenn or knew some other writer associated with this movie and said, we have a kid we think would be good, or you need to talk to this kid, because so much of that happens. So much of that happens.
Oh, so much of it does. But you wonder too, did he just go in for a casting call and just wow them? Like I don't know. But he was perfect for it. And you had him. He's the main henchman. He's the one that I remember from this movie. But Anthony Zerbe as Milton Crest. I love Anthony Zerbe. He's just got an interesting look to him. He's got that one kind of crazy eye that works. I always think of him, not from this movie, but he was in the worst of the Star Trek TNG movies, Insurrection.
Okay.
Admiral Dougherty. But that's burned into my head, having seen, because I saw that in theaters. I didn't see License to Kill in a theater or anything like that. But I love Milton Crest because he is that classic underling that doesn't work. He has his own thing going on, but he works for the bad guy. And so that ends up getting used against him. You know, Bond turns them against each other by just planting the seeds of doubt. It's really great. And the second most brutal death in the movie is Crest in the pressure chamber, which...
Oh, gosh. Yeah, when he blew up. Yeah, that was... Oof.
And I did not expect that they were actually going to have a prosthetic of his head like expanding like that.
Paul Verhoeven, man, this is post RoboCop, post Total Recall. It's the 80s. That Bond was convinced that this is what they had to do to stay relevant.
Yeah, you're not.
So they
wrong.
did it.
We also had Everett McGill as Killifer, the corrupt FBI or DEA agent. I'm not sure exactly who it was, who he worked for, but he's got that face of somebody you don't trust. Everett McGill just has that look about him. But he's great. He's a ton of fun. Yeah, he's so good. I had to look up because when he said, "Oh, we're taking him to Quantico," and I thought that's a weird. Why would you take a prisoner to Quantico? Quantico is like the FBI training facility, but they do
it's
have
Quantico, Virginia. Yeah.
But they do have a military prison there that is used for short term. There's a Marine prison that's used for short-term holding of somebody, like 90 days or less. So basically they were going to take him there, process him, and then end up taking Sanchez wherever he was supposed to go. Also, Killifer's way to get Sanchez out, Mission Impossible stole that later. Mission Impossible Rogue Nation uses the same gag of taking the armored vehicle, knocking it into the water, and then rescuing the guy out of the drowning vehicle.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're right.
And I never realized that until this rewatch. I'm like, that's why that always felt so familiar to me.
They all borrow from each other.
They do.
Yeah.
But I liked him. And then a great cameo, and he is a henchman of sorts. Wayne Newton as Professor Joe Butcher.
Wayne Newton.
He basically
believed that role for him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. He does it to perfection. It's so good.
It's so sleazy.
Yes. Yeah, it's just it's slimy. You can just feel how slimy that character is.
And as someone who performs in Vegas all the time, he knows how to play slimy.
Yeah.
He's got it figured out.
He doesn't walk around. He just glides along the floor.
Yes. And that mustache and the white suit. Like, come on, dude.
And he lobbied to be in this. Like, he basically got a hold of the producers and was like, I want a cameo in this. And to the way they used him too, like, it's not just a cameo. He's not just a henchman or like something. The idea that they are selling their drugs and they're doing it through this televangelist. And they have this huge compound. So they have this whole big front, which that set was really cool because that existed.
Yeah.
That was a thing.
Oh, wow.
They had that location, and then they built some models to force perspective. So like the helicopter pad where that thing flipped up and the helicopter lands inside of it, that was just a force perspective model. So they could flip up that door, the helicopter landed out of frame behind it, and then they closed it.
Oh, interesting.
was a really cool way to do it. So they just, little visual styling to make that look better. But that was a real location they went and shot at in Mexicali.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Which I thought was really neat. I loved Professor Butcher. I like that he's like hitting on Pam, and when she pulls the gun on him and then leaves, it's bless your heart.
Right.
That was his thing, was bless your heart.
Yeah. He was way too cool to freak out,
Mm-hmm.
but he's being locked in his weird soundproof dome.
Which makes me wonder how many downers was that guy on? Like, what kind of drugs was he taking to be that calm all the time?
Well, he had all those people that were doting on him all around the facility. At some point, they were kind of going. It's not like he was getting stuck in a cage. There was a bed and probably a record player. Probably vibrated knowing that guy. Like he was fine. He's like, I'll just hang out for a while. Or it's not the first time that's happened to him.
You're probably not wrong. That's probably more accurate. Yeah. And I do love the last shot of him where he's running away with the big suitcase full of money that she gave him. And they drive by in the golf cart and she grabs it. And all he can do is just be like, oh, bless your heart. Like, he's not even going to try and get it from her at that point.
No, he's not that kind of guy.
No.
He's going to take it if he can get it, but he's not going to work that hard.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, I liked watching him.
You have a house full of guests waiting.
Just let me save this. Take a seat.
The department wants a full report yesterday.
Felix Leiter. Felix Leiter's back. David Hedison had played Felix Leiter before. He's the only actor to play, until Jeffrey Wright, he's the only actor to play him more than once.
Are you serious? I didn't know that. I hadn't picked up on that at all.
Yeah, so he played him in Live and Let Die. Interestingly, the novel of Live and Let Die is where the whole shark thing with Felix comes from.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so they combined some stories here into this movie.
But he comes back here, and according to him, he got cast in this. He just ran into Cubby Broccoli out in New York somewhere, and they didn't even talk about doing the movie. He just saw him, like, "Hey, how you doing? Oh, it's great." And then Cubby was talking to John Glenn, like, "I ran into David Hedison. He still looks great. You should think about having him play Felix again." And they weren't sure if they wanted to, because the whole parachuting scene and like he's looking a little bit older, but they went with it anyway. I liked it. I liked Felix in this. I liked having him back because it's always fun to see Felix. This was the last movie the character would be in until Casino Royale, when they sort of soft reboot everything, because after this, none of the stories were based on anything Fleming had written. So they kind of didn't have a Felix. And I appreciate that. We'll talk about it more as we get into those other movies, but having Felix here was pretty great. And to have it all centered, like the whole opening centered around his wedding, and it's somebody that Bond is familiar with and us as an audience are familiar with. So it adds gravity to Bond's revenge.
Yes. Yeah, and I loved how tough Felix was.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't just informant. He wasn't just somebody James met up with. He wasn't holding a gun, but just running around with it. He did some stuff.
He did.
Like, he was just as hardcore as Bond was in that cold open. He was jumping off of stuff. He was parachuting. He was, he was out for blood. The guy, it was cool seeing Bond's counterpart. Like, there are people in this world that meet what Bond does, and they work on in similar ways. They're cousins, to throw back to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Very, very cool stuff. I just loved watching him in this. He didn't have a lot to do. I mean, most of his work is done at the beginning, but he did enough, though. He did enough that if you have not seen a James Bond movie, when Felix goes out because of the sharks, it'll wreck you. Oh, yeah. Like it did me. I was like, what the devil? What is happening?
And they played it so well, right? Because he gets dropped in with the shark, and then we cut to, Bond finds Della, and she's been killed. And then he finds Felix wrapped up in a bag with a note on him. And the note is straight from the Live and Let Die novel of he disagreed with something that ate him.
Wow. Good writing.
But then he's, not dead. He's still very much alive.
I don't know how.
I don't know how
femoral artery does a lot of work,
he
doesn't have one anymore.
No. Nor is it cauterized. So
I mean, to throw back to the Fast and Furious series, he's dead. Felix is dead. Mm-hmm. He's not alive anymore.
Yeah.
He died a long time before they ever got him back to that room.
He really did. Frank McRae as Sharky.
Yes.
They were originally going to have like a follow-up. I think Sharky was going to come up in a like sequel to this movie if they had done it. There's reasons why that didn't happen. But I love Frank McRae. Like he was so good in these kinds of roles because he can toe the line between being a little bit of a rube, a little bit simple, but also very, very good at what he does. And Sharky was fun. I wish it's a movie with a lot of characters, so some characters are going to get the short end, and Sharky definitely did. Like you kind of want more of him, but I liked how we didn't need any backstory as to their friendship. It's just him and James get along. He's going to help James no matter what. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, you just expect it. And what I loved is Sharky played by Frank McRae, who is great. He has this charm, but there is one role in particular that Frank McRae stands out to me for, and I'm going to play a clip from the movie that he's in. Brace yourselves.
You slip the bell on it. I think it tells I can take from you. I got the California Ranger cousin doing all the virgin and the Darren Hand Frank doing all the virgin in my first cinema. Tiny Tim and step going to the toilet. So what?
It doesn't end. Nope. He just keeps going. That's from Last Action Hero. I'm pretty sure he says something about California raisins in the Diary of Anne Frank in that that tirade.
It's so good. That moment in that movie is so good, and Frank McRae just is perfect for that.
He's everything. He said a few other things. I wish I would have caught the sound clips that I wrote down for this movie where he says some stuff. And it just the way it comes out of his mouth, similar to Benicio del Toro, and just he has a way of saying stuff. Mm-hmm. You just love the guy. I just want to go have a beer with him. He just seems awesome.
I think my favorite one of his was chainsaw my ass. I know a shark bite when I see one.
That's what I wanted. That was the clip I wrote down, the exact one, because the way he says it is just so perfect.
It's so good. And of course, we've mentioned him already, but Robert Brown, his last turn is M, and he's good. I liked his M.
I did.
I think I liked Bernard Lee's M just a little bit better, but there was nothing bad about Robert Brown at all. Same kind of with Carolyn Bliss's Moneypenny. We just didn't get enough of her. She was only in the 2 movies,
right? But
her concern for James. Her one scene is her being concerned for him and then calling up Q to send him to go help out, which I love. Yes. And of course, we'll get to Q here in a minute. One other ally type character I wanted to mention was DEA agent Hawkins, played by Grand L. Bush. What I liked about that was he's in this. He has no scenes with, but he is in this movie as well as Robert Davi, and they were Agent Johnson and Agent Johnson in Die Hard.
Oh, wow.
The year before or 2 years before, whatever it was. So I liked that. That was a fun little thing for me. I also love, he went on to do Balrog in the Street Fighter movie in 94 with nice. Jean-Claude Van Damme. Actually, thinking about it, he was in Street Fighter, and then we had 2 people who went on to be in the first Mortal Kombat movie in this, because Talisa Soto played Katana in that movie. And Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa, who has a very small role in this as a Hong Kong narcotics officer that gets killed basically right after being introduced, was Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat. He is an actor I love him so much. And I wish that is a character and plot that either needed to be cut entirely or we needed more of it.
Right. I completely agree with that assessment about what happened there. That threw me off a lot. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, because it comes out of nowhere, and by the time you're able to react to what is happening here, oh, okay, this is happening, boom, they're all dead.
Yeah, everybody's dead except for James. No, James is also dead. He's dead too.
Well, yes.
They're all dead.
It was just kind of a weird, pointless little aside, but getting Tagawa to play that character, that guy has got a presence. Anything he is in. Nobody sneers like him either. He's got that.
Right. He has something his eyebrows are capable of that most people's are not.
Right.
They are actors. Like Emilia Clarke has eyebrows that are very expressive. His are the same. Very.
No, he has dance. Looney Tunes eyebrows.
He does. I knew I recognized his face from somewhere. I'm so glad you brought that up because it was killing me. Mortal Kombat. That's
it.
Now, pay attention, 007.
Q.
Q in this movie, Travis.
Yeah.
Q has more stuff to do, more lines than we've probably heard him say in our entire watch through.
I think so.
He has them in this movie, and they are witty and clever, and he's got some zingers, and he's in the field helping Bond do the stuff. He's got a walkie-talkie broom. I mean,
real quick on that moment.
Yes.
So he's got the broom, right? And the way the shot is set up, you don't know it's Q right away. And then they zoom in, they go into the close-up shot and it's Q, and he's got the broom. He, pulls the antenna out of it and all that. Here's the best part about that scene. Every time we have seen Q, he's always admonishing James to bring back his equipment in pristine order, right? Quit wrecking everything. What did he do at the end of that sequence after he was done with the walkie-talkie broom? What did he do with it, Stephen?
He casually tosses it over his shoulder into the bushes.
I laughed so hard at that. It was perfect. It was so good.
It was the best toss. He took it by the end of the handle and just popped it out of his arms and over. It was so good. It was so he didn't even look at it. He was just walking, tossed it, and kept walking. It was what Desmond Llewellyn just sold every bit of that, and it was wonderful.
He did. And it was great to see him do more, and for Q to be involved and care. He cares about James. He wants to help him. James is just like with Pam, James is like, go home, go. Yeah. I work better alone. I don't need your help. And Q's just like, yeah, okay, sure. So anyway, I'm going to be helping you with this, and just ignore him and keep helping. It was great. I loved every second of it. Every time Q was on screen, it was wonderful. Did you have a favorite gadget? Because there's only a couple of them, but
yeah, there were only a couple. And I watched. Let me see. I think I wrote down gadgets in here somewhere. I think the walkie-talkie broom was pretty much the one I wanted or I liked the most. Yeah, it's the one I wrote down. The handprint gun was pretty cool. But I mean, we've seen something like that. It won't be the last time we see something like that. So to me, the fun gadgets are the unique ones, even if they're not that consequential to anything. They're just neat to look at. And the walkie-talkie broom really got me. It reminded me of Get Smart, like the shoe phone kind of thing.
Get Smart. And that is the way I think that you work in that type of whimsy into this movie and make it work, because it's not James doing it. We don't need James with a little one-liner there or a silly gadget. We need him being he is on his mission, but Q is there. Q is just glad to be out of the office and doing something different. He is having the time of his life. I loved the X-ray camera with the laser on it. That was a funny one. Just because it's
that was good, because Pam's playing with it and shoots between them, and it's just this apparently secret agents press buttons on stuff, not even knowing what it does, and nearly kill everybody all the time.
The way he describes exploding alarm clock, guaranteed to the person to make them not wake up, whoever uses it, was pretty good.
That was funny.
The detonator for his plastic explosive was Lark cigarettes, which was a Philip Morris brand. And apparently Dalton did a Japanese commercial for that because they paid like a couple $100,000 to get Lark cigarettes in the movie. And that's why in the end credits, there's a Surgeon General's warning about smoking, which I also think this is the last time they had James Bond smoking on screen, because I don't think Brosnan ever does.
No, 95, they would have been really coming down on smoking on screen.
So I always thought that was great. And the most ridiculous gadget's also that laser camera that takes X-ray photos for no reason whatsoever. We don't really have a car in this. There are cars, like there's a Maserati at one point, but really the vehicles in it are that end chase with the Kentworth, the Kentworth trucks.
The big trucks.
The most ridiculous trucks you'll ever see. Like, it's funny, for as grounded and gritty as this movie was, then there's two moments with those trucks that are completely insane. When he drives up
the ramp, the two like riding on one side of the trailer. If that was real, my mind is blown, because I know there's a handful of stunt guys out there that they professionally, this is what they do. They stunt drive on one side of a car. They go up a ramp and they do the thing, and you can learn to do this. They taught the Mythbusters how to do it.
Yep.
But a truck with a trailer on it?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how they did that one.
Yeah, I mean, I need a behind the scenes on that stunt alone.
And they do that to avoid the Stinger missile, which was an interesting little subplot. Again, you could have cut the Stinger missile subplot and did not affect anything.
I don't remember the Stinger missile subplot, if that helps.
Yeah, it's
barely. I need them with me. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Basically, that's what it was. We just needed an excuse for why this guy has missiles at the end to shoot at these trucks.
You don't need to build the excuse for an entire movie, though. He can just have them. If we're willing to accept that James Bond didn't get caught by a bunch of guards trying to escape from a fortress, I think we'll just get that dude has Stinger missiles hanging out in his truck. No problem. All right.
I'm with you on that. But then the other truck that does the wheelie is even more ridiculous. Like, James drives up to this wall of fire. The explosions in this final sequence were insane. These are some of the largest fireball gasoline explosions. And normally big fireball explosions, I always will make the joke, they shouldn't have painted that house with gasoline-based paint, that kind of thing. But these are gasoline tanker trucks. So it makes perfect sense for them to explode in these giant fireballs. And they look so good. They're so good. But when he pulls up to the wall of fire, and for whatever reason, slamming on the gas means your truck will like bend at the axle and be like a horse raising up on its hind legs and run through the fire. Was insane, but I loved it too. It was great. The perfect amount of stupid.
Easy.
And then one of the writers, I think, was on set maybe, or said that the shot right at the end where James runs away from the exploding tanker after he lights Sanchez on fire, which again, we're talking brutal deaths in James Bond movies. We're 3 for 3 in this.
That's a rough way to go.
Head explosion, tossed through a grinder, and then lit on fire, which is one of those where, first of all, both Sanchez and Bond died. When that truck fell over, they're done. They're not even in one piece anymore. But in the movie, they're fine, and Sanchez is just soaked in gasoline, and you're like, yeah, he's going to get lit on fire. That's how he's going out. Because otherwise, why would they show him lying in a pool of gasoline?
And you left out one of the villains getting actually eaten by a shark at the beginning of the movie. So there was that too. That was a very brutal death.
Yeah. So it was a lot. But I loved the whole end sequence. And just all of that action was great. They apparently had a lot of trouble shooting on that road. That was a road somewhere in Mexico that, like, and when I say they had a lot of trouble, there are like second unit director and John Glenn and a couple other people talking about how that stretch of road is haunted, and they're convinced that there were like ghosts messing with them and stuff, because there was story of a minibus with like a half dozen nuns in it went over a cliff there, and because of that it's haunted. But it was a stretch of road that had been shut down for being dangerous, and so they're driving along that in those trucks. It's such a good chase sequence, though. I loved it.
Yeah, it's perfect. Absolutely great. Yeah, like the ending too. As you get further, like when we resolve everything with Pam and with Lupe, there's that moment of jealousy again that I just don't think really matters all that much. But what I do like about the end is the playfulness back into James, because Pam is downstairs and James just like, he decides he wants to be with her. So he jumps off the balcony into the pool in his full tux and everything and drags her into the pool too. I thought that was really fun because that brought back, that sense of charm and playfulness. We've watched him be just a man on a mission for the last 2 hours. And he is charming. He is cool. He doesn't care. It doesn't bother him that his suit and his keys and everything else is wet. There's a hot chick downstairs. That's right. That's the way he operates. And I really like that they closed it out with that. That was fun. I
did too. And it's a great way to close things out. And it's a very fun James Bond movie. This is one of my favorite Bond films. I put this up there with Goldfinger, and it's maybe just a step down from like Goldfinger, GoldenEye, Casino Royale are kind of my top three. License to Kill is that next level down. It's right there.
Yeah.
It's upper echelon for me.
Right.
One little trivia bit I read on IMDb that I want to mention real quick, because I'm gonna read the trivia bit and then my thoughts on it, which is this. Gene Simmons of Kiss was allegedly offered a role, but due to commitments to the band, he declined. I don't buy that. I think Gene Simmons has told that story, and he's the only one that knows of that story. That's just me, but that feels like something Simmons would say.
I think you're probably right. I'm going to need that to be corroborated before I believe it.
Exactly.
By someone who doesn't like Gene Simmons.
Yes.
He's like one of the people who's worked with him and says he sucks, but that was true. I feel like, okay.
Yes. But no, that is License to Kill. The best rated Timothy Dalton James Bond movie. And I have to agree.
Yeah. I mean, out of the two, sure. Yeah. It's the better of the two. But I would argue along with you that if I had one of those S tier, A tier, B tier James Bond movies that we've watched so far, to me, this is a high A, almost S tier. Because I love Skyfall is one of my favorites. I know it's not everybody's. It's one of mine because it was easy to follow and I'm simple. Casino Royale, GoldenEye, those, this is right up there. I love the mess out of this movie. We've watched a bunch of older James Bond movies, and I have watched them because it's my job as a correspondent on internet movie stuff.
Right.
But also because I enjoy James Bond, but I find that this one kept my attention and I could watch again shortly after having just seen it. You know what I mean? Like I might put some distance between me watching some of the older ones and be like, I'll go back to that classic at some point. But this one is one of those where I could say, ooh, it's a Saturday afternoon and I want to watch some action and eat some popcorn. License to Kill is on that list of potential movies.
Of the James Bond films we have watched so far, the ones that I would go back and watch tomorrow without a hesitation would be this and Goldfinger, because their pacing is the best that we have seen thus far as well.
That's what does it.
2 hours and 13 minutes, I think, but it doesn't feel like A View to a Kill felt long.
Right.
The Spy Who Loved Me at times felt very long. We talked about it's the travel log. It's James Bond walking from place to place for long stretches. And so they get that runtime, but they could have cut it out. I don't see a lot of places that you could cut. You might be able to cut a few minutes out of it, but unlike going from, say, 2 hours and 10 minutes to an hour 50, we're talking going from 2 hours and 10 minutes to like 2 hours and 3 minutes. Like there's 5-6 minutes you might be able to trim out of here, but it's just moves along real well. And yeah, I really, really dig this one. Yeah.
Excellent supporting cast, moves along well. Story's easy to follow. You know what's going on. Classic revenge tale. I hands down one of the best we've seen so far.
Now, you've heard what we have to say about this. What do you have to say about it? We want to hear from you. If you've got feedback for us, you can do that. You can find us on Blue Sky at 24fpspresents.bsky.social. You can email the show, 24fpspresents@gmail.com. You You can also leave us a voicemail if you want to. voicecast.app/24FPS. Tell us what you thought about License to Kill. What do you think about James Bond in general? Did you like Timothy Dalton? Are you more a Roger Moore fan? We want to know. We'd love to hear from you. So you can definitely do all of that. And we, Stephen, you and I will return next time for The World Is Not Enough. We're moving on to the lowest rated Pierce Brosnan film.